recap for part B. So we were looking to show how the increase in prices of agave will cause the profits earned by tequila producers to increase or decrease. So that's our endpoint. So we know that profit equals to total revenue minus total cost. So we have established 2 points of view. Firstly, total cost to tequila producers will rise due to the rise in price of agave, since agave is a factor input of tequila. So for this point of view, it's okay to just write a simple one sentence because there's nothing much to write. But for the second point of view, more analysis is involved. So when there is an increase in factor input prices, there is actually a decrease in profitability of tequila. So the tequila producers have less incentive to produce tequila, and this causes a decrease in the supply of tequila. So there's a fall in quantity but a rise in price. So overall, total revenue is indeterminate. However, we can bring in the PED of tequila, which we establish in the extract that PED of tequila is less than 1. And therefore, when there is an increase in price caused by the decrease in supply, right? So there's an increase in price, it will lead to a less than proportionate decrease in quantity demanded. So overall, we concluded that the total revenue to tequila producers actually will rise. So to elaborate more on our answer, we can actually draw a diagram to show how total revenue has risen. So note once again, this diagram cannot show what happened to profits. It can only tell you what happened to revenue, as there are no cost curves present. So to do the diagrammatic analysis, we need to find 4 different areas. Firstly, we need to establish what is the initial total revenue. So initial total revenue is the initial price, which is P0, and then P0 is initial price, and then the initial quantity is Q0. So the initial total revenue is 0, P0, A, and Q0. So this red box over here. Next, we find what's the final total revenue. So final revenue is P times Q, so the final price is P1, while the final quantity is Q1. So this green box here will tell you what the final revenue is, which is 0, P1, B, and Q1. We also need to find what is the gain in revenue and the loss in revenue. So in this case, the gain in revenue is due to the increase in price from P0 to P1. Therefore, the gain in revenue is this box over here, which is this orange box here, P0, P1, B, and C. Or the fall in revenue or the loss in revenue is actually due to the fall in quantity. So last time, the amount of transacted in the market is Q0, but has fallen to Q1 now. Therefore, there's a loss in revenue for the producers, which is marked out by the area Q1 CA Q0. So let's move on to evaluation. We have seen that both total revenue and total cost have risen. Therefore, we cannot determine if profits will rise or fall. So to conclude, we will need to evaluate whether total cost rises more or less than total revenue. So what is evaluation? It is basically just making a stand. So in this case is, do you think whether profits will rise or fall, which is the end point. And to write the evaluation, you always need a criterion and you need justification. So justification is just how will you make use of the criterion that you have picked to justify the stand that you will make. So I have 3 criteria here. Note this list is non-exhaustive. First is magnitude of decrease in agave supply. Second is proportion of agave. Third is short run versus long run. So in exams, there is no need to use all 3 criteria to write an evaluation. Evaluation is only 2 marks, so you just need to pick one criterion and come up with the evaluation. So you can pause here to think about how you can write the evaluation if you haven't done so. But if you have, we can move on. So under the magnitude of decrease in agave supply, right, you can consider whether the decrease in supply is huge or not. So if agave supply decreases significantly, there will be a large shortage in the agave market, which is supported by the extract actually, because the extract stated that the shortage is expected to last up to 2021. So normally in the extract, they will hint to you like what are the potential criteria you can use. And then because there's this shortage, right, it will cause prices of agave to increase sharply to eliminate the shortage. So since agave is a factor input, producers will face a large increase in their cost of production. And as a result, total cost will rise substantially as compared to total revenue. So if total cost is rising more than total revenue, you will see profits falling. So in your endpoint, you can conclude that profits earned by tequila producers will fall. The next potential criterion you can use would be the proportion of agave as cost of production for tequila production. This pie chart shows the cost breakdown of producing a bottle of tequila. Note that agave actually made up the largest share of cost of production because tequila is produced by fermenting agave juice. Remaining cost includes bottles, labels, packaging, and extraction process. So for agave, right, if we see that the price of agave increases by 10%, so the cost of to the producers will increase from like $8 to about $8.83. And therefore, total cost increased by 80 cents. But for bottles, if we see that the price increased by 10%, the cost to producers will increase from $2 to $2.20. The total cost only increased by 20 cents. Although both inputs increased by the same 10%, agave causes a much larger increase in the total cost of production because it accounts for a larger proportion of production cost. Therefore, when the prices of agave rises, tequila producers can experience significant increase in their cost of production. So this is the written explanation summarizing the evaluation. So there's no need for you to know like how many percentage does agave comprise of like tequila production. You just need to give me an assumption if there are large amounts of agave needed, that it will result in a large increase in cost of production. Lastly, for the last criterion, it will be short run versus long run, or more specifically, how the PED value of tequila might change over time. So, in the extract, we saw that the PED is less than 1 because there are lack of substitutes. So when there's a fall in supply, your price actually increase. But due to PED less than 1, there's a less than proportionate fall in quantity demanded. Therefore, total revenue rose. However, if we look at the long run, PED value might have changed. PED might be more than 1 because consumers now can seek alternatives or there might be more substitutes available. So for the same fall in supply, you will see that the prices still increase. However, now there's a more than proportionate fall in quantity demanded. Thus, your total revenue can fall. Since your profits equals to total revenue minus total cost, when there's a fall in total revenue and a rise in total cost, overall your profits can fall. So when writing evaluation, right, we always follow this structure. First, we can state the criterion. So in this case, it's like PED of tequila may change over time. Then we explain how the criterion can affect the outcome. So you explain how in the long run, demand becomes more price elastic, causing total revenue to fall and costs will actually increase. So of course, it will also be good if you can include in your answer what happens in the short run also. to further better this answer? And lastly, you tell me what is your stand. So in this case, the stand is there is a fall in profit. So remember, evaluation is not just about stating the criterion. So don't memorize all the criterions and just plonk me one. You need to tell me how this criterion will help you determine what the final outcome is. And in this case, the change in PED over time can help us conclude that profits are more likely to fall in the long run.